that may need to be addressed. That's going to be a problem. The louvers just flap in the wind. Good morning. No, technically afternoon now. I had to go get some stuff this morning, so I've been on the road and kind of killing some time unintentionally, but that's what happened. So, but I got some compound for our buffer, rotary buffer that I've got here. I've got this, if I don't die, I've got this nice Makita rotary buffer here. We've got some pads, and yeah, I needed some new compound, so I went to get that. Got a couple of different ones. One's a compound, one's a polish, finer than the other one. I got some other stuff. I got a clay bar kit and some tire foam that's not really for tires, but we'll use some of that stuff. And yeah, we're gonna start working on this tractor here this afternoon, see how we can do with trying to shine that hood up and some of the other stuff. Might start on the rear fenders actually, because they're a little easier to do. Bigger, nice flat surface. So we'll work on that here. I might get that scaffolding out of here and back the tractor up and give us a little more space to work, but that is the plan here for this afternoon. Well, there's that. Now we can back our tractor up. All right, so I am ready to start with my buffer here. I washed this pad off and got it wet because it needed washed, but you got to get it centered on here. It's just a Velcro attachment, so that centers it, and we'll turn it on and run it and fling all the water out of it, and we'll go get started over there. Yeah, that was fun. All right, so here's what we're working with. I'm gonna start on this rear fender. You can see it's a little dull. I think part of that is residue from our, dang it. Oh, I dropped my towel, then I dropped my polish. Okay, as I was saying, we've got kind of a film on here that's from that bug and tar remover stuff. We didn't really wash it off with water, but even where I scraped that off, you can see it's just dull. Doesn't have a real good shine to it. So this stuff should help kind of polish that out and make it really shine, and then we'll put our ceramic on when we're done. Well, we're going to use this one and we'll see how it does, and then we'll probably go over with the polishing compound stuff that's a little bit finer, and then we'll clean it up from there. And I don't know, we'll see. We'll start with this and do a small section here, a couple small sections, and see what we end up with. Kind of rub it around a little bit. Turn our speed down. And away we go. This is really a two-hand job. Wow, look at that. Wow. Yeah, that didn't take long. Uh-huh. Well, there's still a couple of scratches. We may do a little bit more, but yeah, that's gonna work. Beautiful shine. Well, there's kind of the line. This stuff I haven't touched, and that got just a couple of minutes. And like I said, there's a couple of scratches there yet. We're not gonna get all the scratches out of this tractor. That ain't gonna happen. But we are gonna bring that nice deep green shine back to it. That took me about 30 seconds. Okay, keep going. Before, after. Wow, that stuff is awesome. Cool. I can see every single scratch in it now, but at least it's shiny and green, like it's supposed to be. Yeah, definitely can tell the difference. I got a little bit of hand work to do around these lights in between here where my buffer doesn't fit, but that's pretty good. Oh man, look at that. Oh, that was just compound. Okay. All right, well, it's gonna take me a while. Maybe I'll set up a time lapse on that other one, but we've gotta do that other fender, we've gotta do the hood, and we should do these corner panels there, and yeah, we'll make her shine. Some of these details here are gonna be difficult to get into. We'll have to do some hand work around there, but we can get the big flat spots in the top of the hood real well and get her cleaned up nice, real nice. I probably should have bought a second bottle of this polishing compound. We'll see how far it goes. Huh? Man, they're quite shiny when you get that. Did get a little buffing done. So, all right, it's time to work on the hood up here. I'm gonna start up on the top because flat surfaces are easier than vertical surfaces. And maybe I'll set my camera up right up there on the top of the cab so you guys can watch. Okay, do we have a good before picture here? You guys see what we got to work with? Let's go. Well, how'd we do? Not too bad. It's wiped off. Shines up pretty good though. You can see the difference. Done? Not done. So I gotta get a ladder to work off of to get the front. I just can't reach it real well. And we'll get that. And I'm getting there slowly. Our crop consultant just stopped by and we had a little meeting. He dropped off a binder here with all of our soil sample results and recommendations and stuff from the fall. I've seen most of this information as we put the fertilizer on this fall. Every now and then I get a few questions about that and stuff, and I haven't ever really explained it very well, and I'm not going to now either, but I will show you kind of the process and how this works and, you know, how we decide what fertilizer to put on, where and when, all of that good stuff. So let's look at this field. This is a field, this is the one where I had 30-inch row beans. This year was the first field we planted. Beside the point, there's about 86 acres in this field, and we tend to soil sample most of our fields that are beans going to corn next year, all of the wheat ground going to corn next year, and apply the appropriate fertilizer. And then we throw in some other fields to sample every now and then, just based on rotation and when things need to get sampled. So these are our zones. This is how we do zone samples. We don't do grid samples, and we do it based on yield environment, soil types, whatever it may be. Some of the zones get a little funky, but they're generally pretty good. And one of the conversations that we just had was about maybe tweaking these zones. These were made here, I think, 4 years ago when we first started working with them, and they kind of thought we would look at stuff a little bit further and see if there's some zones that can be changed and modified and just updated a little bit. But you don't want to change it a whole lot because you want to stay fairly consistent in where and how you're sampling to get build up a history. So, but like zone A here is 9.7 acres, B is 10.62, C, D, E, F. You can see D's a little funky. It's got this tail that comes in way over here. So this stuff is getting sampled with this stuff, but it's the same soil type and it yields similar. So that's why it's done that way. F here is some low ground. You can almost see the color difference in the background map there. So anyway, this field goes through zone I. So then the next page here, these are our soil test results. So each zone gets a soil sample. So this is the farm, 19-1, the field, and sample identification ABC. So those correlate with these zones. So zone A up here has all of these results. So CEC, cation exchange capacity, is 13.23. CEC is basically the ability of the soil to hold nutrients and moisture. The lower the CEC, the sandier the ground is. And you can see on this page, we vary anywhere from 13.2 up to 18.06. So you get up towards 18 and 20 and it's pretty heavy clay. 13, it's a little bit lighter, but once you get under 10, then you consider it sort of more sandy. So anyway, then we'll look at our pH. On this one, that's 5.8. That's pretty low. We don't want our pH to be below 6. Really, 6.5 is about perfect, 6.5 to 6.8. So these are all just a little bit low. That one is good there. We'll get to how we address that in a minute. Organic matter, you can see our organic matter levels, not great, but that's the soils that we run. It's old forest land, it's not grassland, so 1.8 up to 3 on this particular samples. Estimated nitrogen release, that's really, it's estimating how much nitrogen your soil is going to produce in a given summer, but I don't pay much attention to that number. Soluble sulfur. These numbers are all really low, but sulfur is a mobile nutrient. You can't build it up in the soil, so that's about what we expect. And then this is a phosphorus test, so we use Malic 3, and the top number is pounds per acre of phosphorus is P2O5. The bottom number is parts per million of phosphorus. This is the number that I'm more familiar with, and basically we want it to be at least 20. Theoretically, the higher the better, to a certain extent though, because phosphorus is it's not a leachable mobile nutrient, but it attaches to the soil, and as we get erosion and stuff, it can go into the water running off the field. That's what causes some of the phosphorus. The algae blooms in Lake Erie can be a big issue, so we want to have enough phosphorus out there to support our crop, but we don't need excessively high levels. Okay, so 24 is not too bad. 16 is 12 is low. Again, I'll show you how we address that in a minute. Then we can look at some other ones here. Calcium, magnesium, potassium. Potassium is another macronutrient. That's a big one. 126, 115. Those numbers aren't terrible, but they are sort of low. We would like them, I don't know, maybe in the 150 range, I would say. And then sodium, we don't do much about that. Then you can see some base saturations here. This is kind of based on your CECs and how much of the exchange capacity sites are saturated with these different nutrients and stuff, more or less. So, your potassium base saturation at 2.4, I'd like to see that around 3. So they're a little bit low there. And then we've got some other minor nutrients, micronutrients, boron, iron. We have lots of iron in our soil, manganese, copper, zinc, and aluminum. So, and then there's another page, the rest of those soil test results. You can see this one zone gets up to a 26 CEC. That's pretty heavy ground. Also got a 6.9, phosphorus levels. There's a 39, there's a 19, 36. So they vary a little bit, but that's why we zone sample, because we can pinpoint zones. So then we take this data and they turn them into these maps. This is for MAP, which stands for mono ammonium phosphate. That's the phosphorus that we use. It's 1152O, 11% nitrogen, 52% phosphorus, 0% potassium. And each one of those zones gets assigned a rate. So these zones here got 120 pounds per acre. These zones got 100 pounds per acre, and these zones got 80 pounds per acre. And that's based off of these test results and how much phosphorus we needed. So like zone B, which is this one up here in the middle, got the higher rate because it was lower. But these zones down here that had in the 30s don't need as much phosphorus, so they got the lower rate. Same thing here with what we call a blend 6 plus boron. Blend 6 is basically 80% potassium, OO60, and 20% AMS, or ammonium sulfate, which is, I believe, 26% sulfur and 12% nitrogen. I'd have to double check that one, but anyway. And you can see the rates there. We go anywhere from 200 to 275 to 300 pounds per acre of the total blend. So at a 300 pound rate, you're getting like 240 pounds of potash, which is fairly high, but we're low on that. So we're trying to build those rates up and have more of it available in the soil for next year's corn crop. And then this map is lime. So we on this use a high cal lime, and it uses anywhere from 0, where our pH is good. Lime is used to change the pH of the soil, to raise it. So where our pHs were good, we put 0 lime on, went anywhere from 1.3 to 1.8 to 2 tons of lime per acre to try and correct that pH and bring those ones that were, oh, this one's even up to 2.3, that were down in the, that 5-8 range. We're going to put a lot of lime on there, try and get them up to 6.5. The ones that were already 6.7, 6.9, they don't need any lime. Yeah, so that's all for that field, right? Yep, that's a different map. And that's how we basically decide on our fertilizer stuff. So we have a crop consultant that they do the sampling, and they send this stuff to the lab, and then they give us those maps, and we kind of look at them and say, yep, those look good. Let's go ahead and apply that and get it done that way. Make sense? It does. I promise it does. So we're also getting some nutrients out of our starter fertilizer on the corn, and we've been putting that chicken litter on after some of the wheat stubble, so that's all accounted for in here and what we're doing. And we can kind of look at crop removal rates and look at how much nutrients are we removing in the grain. A 60 bushel soybean crop removes X amount of phosphorus and X amount of potassium and stuff, and we need to be putting at least that much back into the soil. Otherwise, we're going to deplete our levels and the soil will become run down and not produce very well. Anything we apply over what we're removing theoretically is building and helping to improve those soils for long term. Yeah, that's kind of how that works. Questions? Leave them down below. Back to polishing. So, this spot here was one of the worst areas on the tractor that you could see easily anyway. Does that side look better than this side here that I have not yet done? I mean, it does, but doesn't quite show up in the camera as well. But all right, I'm almost done here. Oh yeah, she's looking good. Okay, I'm fading because I'm tired of doing this. I still I'm thinking I want to do these, although I'm reconsidering a little bit because I think this is actually colored plastic and not painted plastic like the hood and the fenders. So I kind of think maybe I need to take a different approach on those or experiment a little bit. So I'm going to let them go for right now. We'll worry about them later. Yeah. So this is the stuff that I was just using now, and I think the next step is to do the same thing over again with this polish one, pre-waxing glaze. Basically, all these rubbing compounds are abrasives, and this one's a little bit coarser grit than these. I mean, they're both super fine, but this is going to cut a little bit faster, but not leave quite as smooth of a finish as what this one will. So this will help take out any last little bit of imperfections in the surface and get it ready for our ceramic coat. And then I shouldn't need the clay kit on this because doing this rubbing compound is basically taking all of the imperfections and the surface dirt and everything off. So we'll hit it with this polishing stuff next time I'm here, which will be Monday, and then after we're done with that, we'll wipe everything down with some rubbing alcohol and a rag and get it super clean, and so it's just the paint there, and then we'll hit it with our ceramic coating, and that will really make it shine. But I think that's all I'm going to do for today. I got my other sister came in this afternoon, so I'm going to go in the house and visit for a little while, and then I don't know what else is going on tonight, but I'm sure something. So I guess I'll touch up in between here by hand a little bit right now just to get that. I couldn't get the buffer in there. That's about the only spot that I really couldn't get very good. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then I'm heading out of here. It's almost 5 anyway. Weights. A couple of you reminded me. Thank you. Weights. So let's talk about the weights on this tractor, right? So weights. Where do I start with this? Why do we add weight to a tractor? Well, it's for ballast. It helps traction, right? So this tractor is 510 horsepower. It's got a lot of power, and it's got very big tires, but if you don't have enough weight, it won't grip the soil, and the tires will just sit there and spin. And so if you get too much slip, tires spinning and not moving forward, you add ballast or you add weights to help counteract that. So now this tractor has all the time has some weights on it. I'll show you. So inside each of the 4 main tires, or 4 inner tires, it's got these big donut weights. Those donut weights weigh, I think, 1,800 pounds a piece, 625 kilograms. You guys do the math. But those are on all 4 corners, all the way around, and those ones stay on all the time. We never, ever take those ones off. Now on the fronts, that's all the weight that we've got, because these tractors, these articulated tractors, are naturally heavy in the front. That's where the engine is, it's where the fuel is, it's where the cab is. There's just more stuff and weight on the front. So there you can see there's that donut on the front, but we don't have any weights in between the tires, and we don't have any other weights on the front tires outside here. So I think that the natural weight split on these tractors is something like 35, 65, 65% on the front, 35% on the rear. And you want to not be quite 50-50, but you want to get that more balanced depending on what you're doing. And the heavier a pull, the harder whatever you're pulling is, and the slower, the more ballast that you need in order to keep good traction. So the difference is in the spring, when we're pulling a field cultivator with this, it's a big wide implement, and we kind of pull it relatively fast, 6, 7, 7.5 miles an hour. So it's not so much that you need the power for pure pulling power and traction. You need it because you're going faster in speed. So we don't require as much ballast, as much weight, and we want to keep the weight as low as possible, as much as possible, to reduce compaction, right? So you only want on the weight that you need. So in the spring, I will take weights off. So in the back here, we've got these donut weights. There are 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, plus there's a little tiny starter weight in there. These big ones are 205 kilograms. That's about 450 pounds a piece. And then there's a 165 pound one in there. So in the spring, I will take at least 2 of those off, because 2 of them are easy to get off of both sides, which helps lighten the tractor up. And then you'll also notice that in the center of the frame here, we've got this weight bracket. We have 20 suitcase weights that weigh 105 pounds a piece that we can hang on there. So we can hang over 2,100 pounds of weight inside the frame there on top of the rear axle. And what that does by putting the weights on the rear tires and in the center is it puts more weight on the back and helps balance that split out. So instead of 65-35, we're closer to 55-45 or 52-48 or something like that. Now, several of you have asked when we were going to put the weights back on this tractor, because as you'll notice, there's no suitcase weights on there. Well, when we first bought this tractor, we didn't have those suitcase weights, and in the spring, it was fine, no problem at all, as you would expect. But then in the fall, when we hooked up our chisel plow at that time, was before we had our 2730 Ripper, we were having all kinds of trouble. So we've got that 15 shank sunflower disc chisel. It's 15 shanks, but they're on 15-inch centers instead of 24, and you don't pull it quite as deep as we pull our Ripper. But we were getting power hop, which is where the tires would basically, they would grip for a second, and then it would bounce up and over and slip, and it would just start bouncing. And so you had to slow way down, and things were not working well. So that's when I called our dealer up. I said, hey, I need these weights. They got them for us. We put those weights on, and it helped get more traction, better grip. It stopped slipping so much, and it made everything work better. So what we've been doing since then is we would take the weights off in the winter for spring work. We'd put them back on in the summer after we were done with the field cultivator and ready to do our fall tillage, when having extra weight isn't going to hurt us, and it helped to make everything pull nicer. Now, we bought that 2730 here 2-3 years ago, and I just kept doing that because that's what we had done. I figured we needed to. Well, this past summer, I didn't want to put those weights back on when we started doing some ripping, because we needed to get the wheat stubble done to seed our cover crops down, all of that stuff. But Dad was still using this tractor on those scrapers, and those scrapers put a tremendous amount of weight on the drawbar of this tractor, and so you don't want any added weight, or as little added weight as possible. Now, it's too hard to take the big donut weights out of the inside, but I could leave them suitcase weights off, and then these weights, they go on and off pretty quickly. So I was able to take those, put them on to do the ripping that I needed to do, kind of a compromise. I put some of the weight on, but not all of it, and then take them back off when Dad wanted to run the scrapers real quick and easy. These ones in the center, they're a little bit harder to get in and out of there because you got to do it by hand, and they weigh over 100 pounds a piece, and it's tight getting in and out. So I didn't put those on when we first started ripping this summer, and guess what? It worked okay. Turns out our 2730 ripper pulls easier than our 15 shank chisel plow does. And so I never added them back on this fall because I really didn't need to. And whether that was a ground conditions issue and our ground was drier and it pulled better this year than when it's been wet in the past, or it's just this ripper pulls that much different and we had never really done it without those weights to know that, I don't know. But that's why I never put those weights back on. And so, yeah, we're not going to put them on now. In fact, we're going to take some more off of that back axle, take 2 of those donuts off of each side. That's 900 pounds, 1,800 pounds total that we don't need there for the spring. So we'll take those off. And then next summer, we'll probably put the donut weights back on, and maybe we'll put the ones in the center, maybe we won't. Depends on if we decide we need them or not. But that's kind of how that works. So again, questions, comments, leave them down below. And now this video is probably getting long, so we're gonna call it there. I'm done anyway. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Today, when you're watching this, most likely is Christmas Eve. So I will not be coming in tomorrow, and I will not be working on Friday. So the next video of farm stuff will come out next Tuesday when we'll get back to this. From Monday for me, I'll be working again Monday through Wednesday at least next week, and we'll see after that with the new year. Like I said yesterday, though, I am going to try, don't hold me to it, but I'm going to try and get a year in review slideshow put together between now and Saturday. Hopefully it will come out Saturday morning. I may get it. If not, maybe next week. But I am going to do one. It's just a matter of whether I've got time to put everything together, and I haven't really started yet. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a great holiday. Have a great weekend. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for the whole year and for the way that my channel has grown. I just can't tell you how much it means to me, and appreciate that you guys enjoy watching this, and that, you know, hey, it's awesome. So thank you. Have a great weekend after Christmas. We'll see you next week, and take your opportunity to go back and watch anything that you might have missed. And we'll see you guys later.